the human mind easily drifts towards the realm of the past. These might be sweet memories, but often they are also unresolved pains or mistakes that still relentlessly torment us. It is precisely in these moments of contemplation that the advice, "Do not hold on to suffering or mistakes forever. Learn to forgive and continue living," resonates deeply. This is not just a philosophical saying, but a principle of survival, a golden key opening the door to inner peace, maturity, and the ability to fully embrace the future. 1. The burden of holding on to suffering and mistakes. Life is not always a bed of roses. Every one of us has experienced pain, loss, hurt, betrayal, and everyone has made mistakes, wrong decisions, thoughtless actions, hurtful words. It is an inevitable part of the human journey. However, the issue lies not in experiencing suffering or making mistakes, but in how we confront and process them afterwards. Holding on to suffering or mistakes is a toxic psychological state. It manifests through nurturing resentment, hatred, continuously engraving anger towards those who hurt us, desiring revenge or seeing them suffer, drowning in guilt, shame, constantly tormenting oneself over past mistakes, seeing oneself as a failure, unworthy of happiness, getting stuck in regret, perpetually agonizing over what-ifs, unable to accept what has happened, playing the victim, complaining about fate, blaming circumstances or others, refusing to take responsibility and seek change, replaying the pain, continuously recounting, thinking about past sad events, preventing emotional wounds from ever healing. Holding onto these burdens is like tying stones to your own feet. It drains mental energy, leaving the mind constantly heavy and depressed. It poisons current relationships, as bitterness and suspicion are always waiting to creep in. It prevents us from seeing the good things happening around us, as our eyes are obscured by the ghosts of the past. More seriously, prolonged psychological stress from not letting go can even cause physical health problems. In essence, holding on to suffering and mistakes is like building an invisible prison and confining oneself within it. 2. Forgiveness, an act of liberation for oneself. The opposite of holding on is forgiveness. Forgiveness is often misunderstood as an act of weakness, as overlooking or condoning wrongdoing. But in reality, forgiveness is a powerful act of will, a conscious choice made for the sake of the forgiver's own peace. What is forgiveness? Forgiveness is not erasing memories or denying the pain that occurred. It is releasing oneself from negative emotions like resentment, hatred, or the desire for revenge towards the person who hurt you, or releasing oneself from the burden of guilt and shame for one's own mistakes. It is the acceptance that the past has happened and cannot be changed, while choosing not to let it continue poisoning the present and future. What forgiveness is not. Forgiveness does not necessarily mean reconciliation or mending the relationship. You can forgive someone yet still decide to keep your distance to protect yourself. Forgiveness is not forgetting the lesson learned. Forgiveness is not saying that the wrongful act was right or acceptable. Forgiving others. This involves letting go of anger and resentment towards the person who caused us harm. The greatest benefit of this is not for the one being forgiven, but for ourselves. Resentment is like drinking poison and hoping the other person dies. When we forgive, we cut the cord of negative emotional connection to that person, freeing up mental energy to focus on more positive things. We regain control over our emotions, instead of letting others' actions continue to dictate our mood. Forgiving oneself. This is often the most difficult part, yet it is incredibly important. Everyone makes mistakes sometimes. Constantly beating yourself up over past errors only keeps you trapped in guilt and shame, unable to progress. Forgiving yourself means accepting your human imperfection, treating yourself with compassion, learning from mistakes, and allowing yourself the chance to start over, make amends, and grow. Without self-forgiveness, it is difficult to achieve healthy self-esteem and true peace. 3. Why is forgiveness difficult and requires courage? Forgiveness is not an easy task. It requires the courage to face the pain, the humility to accept reality, and a strong will to overcome deeply ingrained negative emotions. Common barriers include sense of injustice. Why should I forgive when they were clearly wrong, and show no remorse? Fear of being hurt again. Forgiveness can feel like lowering one's defenses, hurt pride or ego. Forgiveness might be perceived as weakness or defeat. Attachment to pain. Sometimes, pain becomes part of one's identity, and letting it go creates a feeling of emptiness. Overcoming these barriers requires emotional maturity and a strong determination for one's own well-being. Forgiveness is not a sign of weakness, but an expression of extraordinary inner strength. 4. Continuing to live, the journey forward. Forgiveness paves the way for the next step. An indispensable part of this advice: continue living. Continuing to live does not mean pretending nothing happened. It means accepting the past and focusing on the present. After confronting, processing, and beginning the forgiveness process, actively shift your attention and energy to the life unfolding now. Actively participating in life. Don't let past pain or mistakes cause you to withdraw. Continue working, studying, pursuing hobbies, meeting friends, building relationships, opening your heart to new experiences. Allow yourself to embrace new opportunities, new people, joys without being haunted by the past. Setting goals and looking towards the future. No matter what the past holds, the future still lies ahead with unexplored potential. Set realistic goals and strive to achieve them. Applying lessons learned. Use what you've learned from suffering and mistakes to make wiser choices and live more meaningfully, rather than letting them paralyze you. The act of continuing to live is an affirmation of the resilience of the human spirit. It is choosing hope over despair, action over stagnation, choosing to move towards the light instead of remaining engulfed in darkness. Forgiveness is the crucial fuel that powers this journey of continuing to live. Without forgiveness, continuing to live is merely physical existence while the soul remains imprisoned in the past. 5. Forgiveness and continuing to live an ongoing process. It is important to remember that forgiveness and continuing to live are not destinations, but processes, ongoing practices. There will be times when old pain surfaces, times when self-recrimination returns. The key is to recognize them. Gently remind yourself of the choice to forgive and continue living, and then persevere on the path. This process may require support from friends, family, or mental health professionals. Do not hesitate to seek help when needed. Conclusion: as the first rays of a new day may soon appear in the sky, they remind us of new beginnings, of the ability to start again and move forward. Life always goes on, and the choices we make in how we face past chapters will determine the quality of the chapters to come. Not holding on to suffering or mistakes forever is not about denying or escaping the past, but rather an act of wise liberation. Learning to forgive others and oneself is the most powerful healing remedy for emotional wounds, the key to breaking the chains of resentment and guilt. And when the soul is freed from the burden of the past, we finally have the space, energy, and clarity to continue living fully, meaningfully, and joyfully in the present, while confidently creating a better future. That is the most precious gift we can give ourselves on this challenging yet truly worthwhile human journey.